Tip number 2 is within that, one of the main things we talk about is, and we'll talk about it all the time, choosing the right time and place. So if you want to have better communication, one of the best ways to do it is to understand the fact that every place is not for every conversation, right? So every conversation you may want to have is not for a car ride. It is not for the dinner table. It is not for after intimacy. It is not for right before leaving to work. It may not be for lunch break, right? So every conversation is not for every opportunity. So that's the one biggest thing that couples make, is like choosing the wrong time and place to have a conversation that requires more time, right? So let's say lunch break is like only 20 minutes and the conversation you're trying to bring up is probably like a 50-minute to an hour conversation that requires sitting down and really like letting out feelings. Lunch break ain't the time to do it, right? So that's one of our biggest ways to improve your communication.
And the next part is listen to understand and not respond. Because sometimes a lot of people are listening when you're in a disagreement. You're listening, just trying to wait for your opportunity to come in and say something.
Right.
Versus listen to, like, let me understand what they're saying. Let me feel it. Let me take it in. Let me reason with everything they're saying and hold my objective, hold my response to the end or to another time. And this is one thing that we had to learn, and we implemented this in our relationship, and we have better communication. When we do have a disagreement or a difference of opinion, it runs a lot smoother,
right? Because of that,
everyone, we're trying to listen to understand,
right. And the next thing is also not cutting each other off when the other person is speaking. So. I forgot how exactly the scripture goes, but you're basically not supposed to cut a person off in the middle of their speech. That's actually a commandment. So, don't do that when you're speaking, right? It's very common to do that in the middle of a heated argument. Let's say in a situation of us, if he says something that I'm just like, wait, that's not true. And then I jump in and that's what I say. Wait, that's not true. Right. And then what it does is it just takes the conversation in a different direction. It doesn't let him finish his thought. And then all it does is just add problems on top of problems. Right. So don't cut each other off. That's one of the best ways to improve your communication.
And also agree to have peace. Right. So you got to, before you even go into these conversations, your spouse got to sit down, have ways of disagreements where it's like, I want to have peace within this. I don't want us arguing. I don't want us yelling. At the end of this conversation, I want to have a peace. I want to have a resolve, and throughout the conversation, I want this. So therefore, you set a foundation. You set a groundwork to say, like, this is what we're going to keep at. We're going to keep respectful. We're going to keep peaceful, right? So at the end of the day, we can resolve this issue. We can still say, I love you, baby. You still do that.
Right. So the next thing is communicate with a goal. Okay, yeah, that is a scripture. We will share it. Communicate with a goal, right? So if you want to improve your communication, every conversation really needs to have a goal. Like, what's the point of us having this conversation right now? Are we trying to get somewhere? Or, hopefully it's not just like idle conversation, right? So have a goal when you communicate, have a goal in the conversation, especially if it's a disagreement. You may just have to stop in the middle of it and say, okay, what are we trying to figure out? So say whatever that is, whatever it is you're trying to figure out, and then get right back into the conversation. Sometimes you need to do that because the conversation just ends up going like this, right? When the goal is like all the way on the other side. So, yep, communicate with a goal.